All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to explore 5 absolutely chilling cases where the physical evidence aggressively, and I mean aggressively, contradicts the official explanations and expert skepticism. We're counting down 5 of the most baffling mysteries from around the globe. And in every single one of these, you're going to see this fascinating friction. On one hand, you have official theories trying to neatly package up an event. But on the other hand, the raw, unresolved evidence and the eyewitnesses themselves are telling a completely different and honestly much darker story. So, here's our roadmap for the countdown. We'll be looking at the Pajarillo burn, the toxic lady, the axe in the woods, the vanishing of Annie McCarrick, and finally, secrets of the ice. Let's get right into it.
Number 1. The Pajarillo burn, Argentina, 1986.
So, picture a summer night in January 1986. The Gomez family witnesses this hovering, red glowing object outside their rural home. It's emitting this deep, motor-like hum before it just vanishes into the night, but not before blasting their house with an intense, terrifying light. Obviously, the family is completely shaken. Well, the next morning, they find a massive burn mark on the ground. We're talking 120 by 70 meters. But here's where it gets wild. The physical evidence completely defies biology and physics. Think about how a normal fire works. It burns from the ground up, right? But here, the vegetation was scorched from the top downward, which points to a massive heat source sitting directly above. The stones in the area were only blackened on their upper surfaces. And maybe the most bizarre detail of all, they found insects and small animals that were instantly desiccated. They were entirely drained of internal fluids, yet on the outside, perfectly preserved. Under known natural conditions, that is biologically impossible. And this anomaly permanently altered the environment. About a year and a half later, a raging natural forest fire swept through those exact same hills. But remarkably, the flames completely avoided the original burn mark. The fire curved right around the ellipse, creating this negative image of the incident, almost as if the land itself was repelling the fire like a giant invisible shield. To this day, cattle flat out refuse to graze on the grass that eventually grew back there, and electronics still malfunction near the site. It's like the land refuses to forget.
Moving on to number 2, the toxic lady, Riverside, California, 1994.
This is a medical mystery that hospitalized 5 medical workers and literally shut down an emergency room. On February 19th, a 31-year-old woman named Gloria Ramirez is rushed into the ER. As doctors are frantically working to save her, they notice this really strange oily sheen on her skin and a bizarre, strong garlic-like odor in the room. When they draw her blood, it smells heavily of ammonia. Within minutes, 23 ER workers start experiencing severe dizziness, nausea, and muscle spasms. They actually had to evacuate the ER and run it with a skeleton crew. 3 workers passed out completely, and 1 doctor got so sick she ended up spending 2 weeks in the ICU. Tragically, Ramirez passed away in just 45 minutes, but her very presence somehow toxified the medical professionals who were trying to save her.
Now, notice the crucial friction here. An official lab proposed a chemical reaction theory, but medical experts remain entirely unconvinced. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory theorized that Ramirez self-medicated with a pain remedy called DMSO, which does have a garlic smell. They suggested that when she received hospital oxygen, it magically converted the DMSO into a highly toxic gas called dimethyl sulfate. But here is the massive hole in that theory. Human bodies do not function like blast furnaces. Experts fiercely criticize this debunking attempt, pointing out that breaking and reforming those specific chemical bonds requires extreme heat and highly controlled laboratory conditions. It is virtually impossible for that kind of transformation to happen naturally inside a human body. The official explanation simply does not match biological reality.
All right, number 3, the axe in the woods, Washington State.
We're examining a brief, deeply unsettling glimpse into the unknown here. Just imagine the grainy footage of a dense, quiet forest path, moss-covered rocks and tall evergreens everywhere. A woman sets up a motion-activated trail camera on her private, wooded land and ends up capturing a solitary, blurred figure standing completely frozen holding an axe. And it's the sheer stillness of the individual that gets you. It creates this chilling impression that they are fully aware they're being watched by a hidden camera. It's a chillingly suspended moment that raises instant alarm bells.
And the context makes this infinitely more disturbing. You see, this trail camera wasn't just slapped on a tree by a public hiking path, it was placed deep within private, strictly inaccessible woods. So we're not looking at a lost hiker or a friendly neighbor taking a shortcut. The figure wasn't clearing the trail or chopping wood. They were just waiting. To this day, no one has identified the individual, and we are left to wonder why an armed, totally silent figure was standing motionless on a restricted trail, perfectly aware of the camera documenting them.
Next up, number 4, vanished Annie McCarrick.
Dublin, Ireland, 1993.
This case highlights the terrifying fragility of evidence. Annie was an incredibly capable, sensible 26-year-old American expat living in Dublin. If you look at her timeline on March 26th, her day was remarkably ordinary. She spent the morning relaxing in bed, knitting, then went out and bought groceries to bake for her coworkers. She returned home around 3 p.m. We know this for a fact because those exact groceries were later found sitting untouched on her kitchen counter, right next to the receipt. But at 3:15 p.m., she was seen leaving her apartment again. From that exact moment, her timeline completely fractures into contradictory, unconfirmed sightings, including an alleged bus ride to the village of Enniskerry later that evening.
For decades, investigators chased these official sightings. The bus ride to the Wicklow Mountains, and a report from a security guard who claimed he saw Annie at a local pub in Glencullen with an unidentified square-jawed man. But her friends and family always maintained massive deep doubts about this narrative. First off, nobody in the small town of Enniskerry actually remembered seeing a 5'8" American woman in a highly distinctive tweed coat. Second, and this is crucial, there was torrential rain that night. It was wildly out of character for an intelligent, organized woman to just abandon her groceries and go hiking miles away, completely underdressed and without an umbrella and in a freezing downpour.
Well, this shockingly upended a 30-year investigation. In 2024, it was revealed that the foundational evidence was completely wrong. The famous bank security camera image of Annie, the one police and the public used for 3 decades to build her final timeline, wasn't from March 26th at all. It was actually filmed 11 days earlier. It just proves how fragile our grasp on reality can be, doesn't it? Today, the case has finally been upgraded to a serious crime inquiry, and police are investigating 2 local brothers who actually knew Annie, rather than chasing the theory of a random misadventure in the mountains. The evidence was flawed from day one.
And finally, number 5, Secrets of the Ice, Antarctica's restricted airspace.
For our last mystery, we scale way up to a massive institutional mystery involving an entire continent shielded by international treaties and impenetrable ice. Recently, this astonishing footage surfaced online, showing a craft completely defying our known understanding of aerodynamics over a highly restricted sector of Antarctica. The video shows a metallic, perfectly symmetrical disc-shaped object. It hovers completely silently over jagged ice formations before just gliding smoothly forward. What's critical here is what's missing. There are absolutely no wings, no propellers, and 0 exhaust trails. That completely rules out conventional aircraft or any known military drones. And the kicker? It was filmed near one of Antarctica's restricted no-fly zones, regions that have fascinated researchers for decades.
Once again, we see the friction perfectly here. Official explanations try to brush these sightings off as solar flares, reflections off ice crystals, or weather anomalies. They justify the restricted airspace simply as environmental protection. But then you have the eyewitness accounts. Trained professionals, research scientists, and military pilots working on the ice tell a vastly different story. They calmly report observing silent, hovering disks and glowing orbs. Pilots talk about experiencing sudden radar echoes and inexplicable equipment malfunctions when flying near these zones. Remember, these are highly trained professionals focused on science, not sensationalism, yet they are seeing things that conventional science refuses to acknowledge.
The thing is, Antarctica's isolation makes it the ultimate vault for secrets. You have the Antarctic Treaty System from the 1950s that tightly controls who can go where, often shielding these sensitive sites from public eyes entirely. Plus, in our digital age, you'd probably expect more leaked footage, right? But the continent operates on strictly monitored, very limited bandwidth. Even if an incredible event is captured on video, the severe censorship and technological isolation make leaking that truth to the outside world practically impossible. The sheer vastness of the ice keeps the truth just out of reach, basically burying whatever mysteries, or perhaps ancient technologies, lie beneath.
So whether it's a burn mark that breaks the laws of physics, a medical anomaly that toxifies a whole hospital, a chilling figure frozen in the woods, a vanished woman whose timeline was built on falsehoods, or hovering disks hidden at the bottom of the world, these cases all share a very clear common thread. I want to leave you with this to ponder. When the physical evidence consistently outlives the officially debunked theories, what exactly is reality trying to tell us? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me, and stay curious.